Just a reminder to turn off cell phones or put them on airplane mode. Good morning and welcome. I'm trying not to get too much feedback. Here we are, almost at the end of December, and this week anticipates two things. In the middle of the week, we have winter solstice, and at the end of the week, a week from today, we have Christmas. I think that this time last year I shared with you the story about the dear mother of the winter solstice. And it's one that you might want to revisit. But this is also what some of you will recognize as the fourth week of Advent. If you think I'm going to impose Catholic liturgy or stuff on you, relax, take a deep breath. And I am, however, going to light these candles for a little bit. They are the candles for the first, second, third, and fourth week of Advent. First week. Second week. Tuesday, Sunday, and fourth week. Why do we do that? It's a way of creating a climate of prayer and meditation, a way of reflecting on the meaning of the season. And Advent is a season of hopefulness and being mindful of the coming of Christ, with the notion of welcoming Christ into our hearts on a regular basis. So the Advent practice usually involves lighting the candles week by week of an Advent wreath. They don't necessarily have to be in a wreath, but that's pretty traditional. And it allows family to pay attention to the meaning of Christmas and take a little break from all the shopping and the hecticness. It helps call attention to the fact that it's a season of the heart, and it's a time to nourish our heartfulness. I want to share with you a little bit of prose from one of my favorite poets, John O'Donohue, where he's talking about states of heart. The human body is an amazing masterpiece. With the senses, we see, taste, and touch the world, drawing its mystery inside us. With the mind, we probe the eternal structures of things. With the face, we present ourselves to the world and recognize one another. But it is the heart that makes us human. The heart is where the beauty of the human spirit comes alive. Without the heart, the human would be sinister. To be able to feel is the great gift. When you feel for someone, you become united with that person in an intimate way. Your concern and compassion come alive, drawing some of the other person's world and spirit into yours. Feeling is the secret bridge that penetrates solitude and isolation. Without the ability to feel, friendship and love could never be born. All feeling is born in the heart. This makes the human heart the true jewel of the world. Facing outward, the senses are in ever new conversation with whatever surrounds us. Facing possibility, the mind is in relentless thought flow. Concealed within the dark, the heart is concerned with who we are. It is ever attentive to how we feel. It senses and feels where the care, the joy, the fear, and the tenderness reside. Always, and at every part, the heart remembers who we are. Though so much else is in motion in the mind and the senses, the hidden heart never loses sight of us. If we ever feel lost or overwhelmed, all we have to do is become still and listen in to our heart, and we will soon find exactly where we are. Let us now sing together in the bleak midwinter, which you'll find in Worship and Song. It's number 84. It's time for announcements, and we'll start with the folks on Zoom. Does anybody there have announcements they want to share?
Yes, I have a family promise. I posted the schedule last week. Almost everything got filled up. I did not even have to send out an email. That was absolutely a most wonderful pouring of support for Family Promise to fill up my schedule so quickly. There's only one meal left, and it is like on Friday the 30th. But everything else has been pledged, and I will try to send out an email in the middle of the week when I get the actual counts of whoever's going to be there the week. Our Family Promise Week starts next Sunday. So as soon as the Wednesday comes, I'll try to get the projected count for the upcoming week. The only thing, if somebody still wants to help Family Promise for the Christmas season, they put out a schedule asking for volunteers to stay in the shelter house. And they've got all their overnight coverage so that their staff can take off. But Christmas Day coverage, there's still some opening. They divided Christmas Day into 2-hour segments, and like from 12 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6. They divided Christmas Day into 2-hour segments, and they were looking for volunteers to just go be in the shelter so that their staff that does it all the time can be home for Christmas. So if anybody has time, they would welcome you to contact them. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for signing up so quickly, and we'll start a great week next week.
Very good.
Hi, this is Julie Kendall, and I wanted to thank everyone, Helene and USFW. I got a basket of cheer, and it was so wonderful. I had a lot of presents and things that was really good, necessary type things, and some treats. And I was just really impressed and want to really voice my that I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
That's great, Julie. Any other announcements from our Zoom folks? How about here at the meeting house?
Just wanted to say that tonight is our monthly meeting for business, and it's at 7 o'clock, and we'd like for as many of you to come as possible. I think it will be a short meeting. And a side note to that is that Randy, his procedure that he had on Friday was successful, but he won't be home until tomorrow. So I'll be clerking it tonight, so I'm pretty sure it'll be a short meeting.
I just wanted to remind folks, if you have anything for the newsletter, if you could get it to me within the next week, that would be helpful.
Any other announcements? Looks like that's it. All right. This is the time that we usually talk about offering, and Mike Furnish has some fruits for us.
Today's offertory message relates to a thing here at Fairfield known as the Plan to Support. And I am here to tell you that as I received training in fundraising for my career, we heard from the best minds at the Indiana University School of Philanthropy about how people give their money. And we all wanted to know, for all the good and worthy causes, why religious groups led the way in charitable giving. And our learned professor said, well, the secret is in churches across the land, every Sunday, they get to see their donors face to face, and they pass plates around to collect donations. And no other organizations have that opportunity. Well, think about it. Here at Fairfield, starting now over 2 years ago, we stopped passing the plates around. And I'm happy to report that in that span of time, we've received generous donations that allow us to meet all of the meeting's needs and even be in the enviable position at the end of this year to think about what good we can do with some surplus. So we have proven the Indiana University School of Philanthropy wrong, and for that I thank you. If you are one of the many people who have completed their plan to support online through the email we sent, thank you so much. If you're one of the folks who prefer to do that by hand and through the mail, sometime shortly after the first of the year, you'll receive something in the mail from us that will allow you to do the same. If you're one of those people who have said, I'm not doing this because I don't trust those folks, or I don't see the point, well, ask someone who's done it. You'll not be harassed. You'll not be pestered. You'll not be expected to do any more than what you're led to do on a regular basis. But it does help us. This is our opportunity to pass the plate and ask people here to give prayerful thought about how you share your riches. And we'll conclude with a moment of silence.
Matthias, as we continue in our silence, can you bring us out of the silence with a prayer, please? Thank you.
Loving one, in the bleak of winter, when things are cold and dark, you shine a bright light into our hearts. You make the snowflakes sparkle in us, in our eyes. When we feel dead, you inspire life in us. When we feel paralyzed, you give us movement inside. Loving one, we bring all the pain we have and lift it up to you and ask you to transform it into warmth and light. We give you thanks for the life of Sue Cardwell. You inspired her to inspire others. We give you thanks for the life of each of us, for the life of those we mentioned, for the lives of those in Ukraine and in Russia, for the lives of those who are tormented, and for the lives of those who do not know better than to torment. We ask you to get into their darkness and help them see the light. We are grateful for the love that never ends, for the resources that enable us to be your hands and to share the warmth and goodness with others. Bless us today and every day. Amen.
Well, Sue Cardwell, I remember when I went to CTS starting in 1988. She did my intake psychiatric evaluation that I had to pass in order to get. Why are you laughing at that, Ann? Why does that? But such integrity, I was so worried about what she might find from the test that I took. It was a big written test.
Yes.
And I was worried about it, and so I paper clipped a $20 bill to it. And when I got the test back, there was that 20. She was just had such integrity. She said, "You passed, Philip, but just barely." What a light she was. Wonderful woman. Well, I was recently over in our old meeting house. We've been here a little over 10 years now. And so I was driving by and had come across the key to it in my chest of drawers at home and threw it in my car and driving by. I thought, well, I'm just going to go in there and snoop around. And so I sat in the meeting room imagining what it was like to have been there in 1892, 130 years ago when it was built. Just as an aside, our old meeting house had a good run. According to architects, the average lifespan of a conventionally built building is 120 years, which is exactly how long we worshiped there. So during my visit, I was having this imaginary conversation with the Quakers who first inhabited that space, trying to explain Zoom meeting for worship and how we post our meeting for worship on this thing called YouTube, and then we email the message to other people. It boggles the mind when you think about it, to consider the vast chasm between then and today. Um, these developments have made me more aware of Fairfield's extended family, and this week I heard from two of our scattered family members, a couple named Philip and Lisa Wise of Joplin, Missouri, who wrote to tell me that in my first sermon in the Geezer Manifesto series, I had said that the word geezer was a male characteristic and that linguists believe the female equivalent is hag. I told you I was uncomfortable with that term and would not be using it. And it turns out others were uncomfortable with that term, including Philip and Lisa, who said they didn't care for the term hag, so suggested the word sheezer as a viable alternative. Geezers and sheezers. I like that. Of course, we're beginning to realize that gender isn't this or that gender is more fluid than once believed, and new words might be forthcoming. One never knows. We might have new words here. So I've been on the lookout for geezers and sheezers, keeping my eyes open for their virtues, and found one this week. I was reading the birth story of Jesus this week, it being the season of Christmas. And the birth story of Jesus parallels the birth story of John the Baptist, whose father was a geezer named Zechariah. He was the worst sort of geezer. He was a pastor geezer, the wiliest sort, advanced in his years, who despite his age still took his turn to serve in the temple. And one day while there, the angel Gabriel appeared to him in the temple and said, Zechariah, you and Elizabeth are going to have a son. And Zechariah laughed and told the angel he was nuts, which is not a wise thing to say to an angel of the Lord. And Gabriel said, listen here, you old geezer, you will not speak another word until your son is born. Maybe not those exact words, but that's what happened. When Zechariah exited the temple, people asked him what had happened in there. They heard these voices. He opened his mouth to tell them, but found that Gabriel was right. He could not speak a word. It was later reported by those in attendance that his wife, Elizabeth, seemed inordinately pleased. Elizabeth, being a good sheezer, didn't think it her duty to comment on everything like her husband. So when she learned she was expecting, she rejoiced quietly in her heart and began building a crib. The moral of the story: you don't have to say everything you're thinking. Just because a thought has formed in your brain doesn't mean you are under any obligation to share it with others. And so we continue our Geezer Manifesto, the things we want to do before we croak, and we will add to that list that in our Geezer years, we want to learn when to speak and when to keep silent. Age is not our friend in this endeavor. We know that as people age, there are changes in the brain that affect inhibitory control and social cognition. We lose our inhibitions and awareness. In everyday parlance, we lose our filters, and you might have heard this said that so and so has lost his filters. Uh, and there are very real physiological reasons for this. Shrinkage in the frontal lobes reduces our inhibition. Studies also indicate that as we age, we become less self-conscious, reporting fewer experiences of emotions such as shame, embarrassment, and guilt. So Ezekiel was a textbook case. He blurted out exactly what he was thinking, felt no shame, guilt, or embarrassment. Textbook geezer behavior. If we lose our inhibitions through no fault of our own, if we lose inhibitory control and social cognition as we age, and evidence tells us this is a very real thing, and we are less likely to experience shame, guilt, and embarrassment, what can we do about that? Well, we have nature to thank, because it also seems that as we lose one gift, we acquire another. I have a friend who has a dog, and the dog had very painful glaucoma. The dog was otherwise healthy, and my friend couldn't bear to put it down, and so he had the dog's eyes taken out. And you would never know it. The dog is blind, but looking at the dog, interacting with the dog, you'd never know it. They go for hikes in the woods, and the dog just runs right along, because when the dog lost its sight, his other senses, taste, smell, hearing, and touch, expanded to fill the void created by its loss of sight. The dog runs and plays like every other dog. It's amazing to watch. So we lose our inhibitory control, but we gain another gift to take its place. And this is the gift of introspection. The gift of introspection. Our ability to reflect increases as we age. Our capacity for self-examination increases. If we ask my 8-year-old granddaughter to be reflective, she'll do that for about 3 seconds. At Joanne's school, misbehaving children are required to fill out a think sheet. A think sheet. They must write down what they did, why it was wrong, who they hurt, and what they're going to do about it. We must do that with children, because reflection doesn't come naturally and easily to children. But if we were to ask 74-year-old Larry Cordray to reflect, he can do that for hours at a time. I've seen him reflect all the way through one of my sermons before, there on the back row with his eyes closed, just reflecting away. We might not be good in the moment, you and I. We might not be good in the moment. We might lose our sense of when to speak and when to be silent. But evidence suggests that our ability to reflect after the fact is enhanced as we age. So one gift is diminished, another gift rises to take its place. What does this have to do with being a good geezer? We might find ourselves as we age needing to apologize to those we've hurt because of our lack and loss of inhibition, for speaking when it would have been kinder and wiser to remain silent. I know a man who in a heated moment said some hard and cruel things to his son, and the filter was gone, and he just blurted out all of his disappointments with his son. The filter was gone. he just backed up the truck and dumped the whole load of pain and disappointment on his son. Total loss of inhibitory control. It was a sad and terrible thing. He went home, went to bed, woke up the next morning, thought to himself, maybe I handled that poorly. But he was prideful and thought that after all he had done for his son should forgive him without him having to ask forgiveness. So he didn't apologize. And though the father and son continued to see one another and would even talk on occasion, the fault line remained. And then the father died. As we age, the chances are good our filters will diminish. Joanne said it is already happening with me. I speak when I should have been silent, and I am silent when I should have spoken. There are many things to learn when one sits down to read the Christmas story. Every character in that story has something to teach us. Even Zechariah, from whom we learn that there is a time to speak and a time to remain silent. A fine lesson for geezers and sheezers and everyone in between.
We have a final hymn. It is in the Sing Joyfully book, number 219, As With Gladness.
Homework for the week. All of us carry within us deep pains and also deep joys. Often the source of our pains are fractured relationships that we've experienced with others. Many of them people who we want to be in right relationship with, but find it difficult because of past hurts. This week, let us always be mindful of where God might be calling us to say to someone, I have hurt you, and I am sorry. Please forgive me. Magic words that can restore families and friendships and bring good where pain once stood. Thank you and amen. Turn and greet friends.